Ready, set, blow.
Oh, there he goes. All right, guys, we are back. Welcome to episode 357 of the Ready, Set, Blow podcast. Taping them back to back today. Thanks for subscribing. Continue to rate, review, all that. YouTube, click subscribe. Here with my man, David Hahn, with the fake H in it.
Yeah, it's a fake H.
Yeah, you wanted to sound German.
I wanted to sound German.
Yeah. Well, this is the Stop Asian Hate episode, but we're not going to stop any Asian hate in it.
No, this is just the Asian hate episode. This is the Asian hate episode. There's no stopping here.
Continue Asian hate episode.
No. If anything, it's stop, comma, Asian hate.
Yeah, exactly. Pause.
Asian hate.
But I paused. Speaking of pause, I paused you right before we click record because we started to talk about the asymmetry in male and female celebrities, and I was wondering aloud, like, do you think Lizzo gets a lot of dick, even though she's by most, general standards unattractive, because she's famous? Like I was saying, like Artie Lang, bad look, not a good looking guy, fat, drug addict, but he got a lot of tail because he was Artie Lang.
Right.
Lizzo's way more famous, but she's also kind of unattractive.
Yeah.
Do you think she still gets a lot of dick? Like, are guys impressed by that? The guys want to fuck Lizzo because she's Lizzo.
No,
I didn't think so either.
No, because men don't care about a woman's professional success, especially successful men.
Yeah, I've said that. Women need a guy to be passionate, have ambition, have some success, have something going for them.
Yep.
Guys just need their girl to be hot. Guys will date a hot loser.
Yeah.
And Lizzo's not a loser, but she's also not hot.
She's not hot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Which we're probably going to get a lot of shit for. Oh, she's a queen. Yeah, she's a queen. I find her unattractive. Just like I find all men sexually unattractive. Does that make me a fucking man hater? No, it just means I'm not sexually attracted to them. I'm not saying she's a loser. I'm saying she's not attractive to me.
No, I mean, she's got to be attractive or young.
Well, I think they're synonymous. Isn't young and attractive?
Depends on how much,
kind of synonym.
Well, it depends on how much money you spend.
Yeah. Depends if who you're asking. Jeffrey Epstein.
Because, they're always talking about, oh my God, this celebrity has defied aging. Yeah, it helps to be a billionaire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got a team of doctors working round the clock on this.
Well, like, hey, Oprah, what's your excuse?
Yeah.
Shit. They always post Jennifer Aniston on some fucking magazine talking about how she's defying aging.
To be fair, that's what they look like when they're on the red carpet. We don't know what that bitch looks like coming out of the shower in the morning. I feel like they hide
a wet dog.
I'm sure she's attractive for, especially for her age, but she doesn't look that good without all the touching up and all the stylists and makeup artists and all this other shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but still, if anything, they look good for their age, but money helps.
Oh, for sure. Like I said, you have a team of doctors. Dude, all these people in LA, this, they go to anti-aging clinics.
Yeah.
Where they're on, testosterone and human growth hormone, and they're getting Botox put in their face and their ass. Dude, I've heard this is true. Gay guys get Botox in their butthole to make it look good.
In their buttholes?
Well, they bleach their butthole and they get Botox to make their butt look presentable.
So they can't move it, so it's more relaxed.
So it looks so it looks presentable. It looks young.
Presentable to who?
Young and spry. Whoever's
putting
their penis in it. I don't know. I don't know, fucking whoever they're banging.
Well, but if you put Botox in something, then it paralyzes it.
So that might actually be a double whammy too.
Yeah,
right?
because
it makes it less.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's more relaxed. It's more lax.
Yeah, it's like it's like rubbing a little of that topical lidocaine they give you at the dentist. Yeah. You pull it out in your butthole before they go poking around in there. Yeah,
it just like I said, it gets the wrinkles out. It's just a smooth. It's just a smooth orifice.
I'm always stunned at how. I think I've heard the craziest surgery story of my life, and then in LA every week there's another crazier one. Like I heard one a few weeks back. A woman thought her dog would feel, embarrassed at the dog park after she got him neutered, so she had fake testicles put into his sack after she got him neutered. So the dog has balls, but they're fake balls. How crazy is that? She thought the dog would feel like, mocked by all the other bully dogs in the dog park if he didn't show up with a set of nuts. So she gave him a set of fake nuts. Could you imagine?
I feel like if anything, humans are more judgmental of
I'm pretty sure dogs don't think, where's his nuts? Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck.
No, they don't. They don't.
They smell each other's assholes.
Yeah, it's when I saw a dog. There's a show at a dive bar, just 3 blocks from my house in Redondo Beach, and inside I saw a fucking dog with balls.
Never see that anymore.
No, you hardly do, but you would see it at this dive bar. This dive bar is a fucking shithole that I drive by every day.
There used to be a lot of stray dogs too. You remember that? This is just stray.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of Asians here, so.
They're snapping up a little meal. No, but like when I was a kid, it wasn't happening all the time, but there was like, you go to the park, there's a stray dog with no collar running around. Yeah. Like it's kind of a neighbor dog who's rooting through trash. We've kind of dealt with that. Like, the dog catcher used to be a job. Are there dog catchers anymore? I mean, everyone's all into rescuing dogs. I mean, it's,
You mean the guy going around with like a net?
Yeah,
trying
man.
to capture
dude,
dogs?
that was like part of the plot of Friday, of the movie Friday. With,
Yeah.
His dad was a dog catcher.
I
haven't seen a dog catcher since it's in 25 years.
Yeah, I hardly see stray cats either in my neighborhood, but there's also roaming coyotes. So.
Oh yeah, I'll take care of a few of those cats.
Yeah, I've seen a few. It's
I kind of wish there was more wildlife around like big human populated cities. Like think about this. If there were like grizzlies and packs of wolves in LA still, the homeless problem would be a lot easier to deal with, Everyone would be in shape because you go outside, you're going to run to the next place you're going to. You're not going to fucking, casually hang out outside if a bear is going to show up.
I mean, the homeless population's immune to all diseases, so you may as well just sick apex predators on them. Well, I noticed how COVID had zero impact on Skid Row.
It really did. They shook it off. They're like, what are you talking about? COVID? I got AIDS twice.
Yeah.
COVID.
Well, before COVID, there was a typhus outbreak in Skid Row. And
typhus? What is it? It's like scurvy? How do you get typhus?
Exactly. I don't know. I haven't heard that fucking word in decades.
I know.
Yeah.
You gotta get suck on a lime so you don't get that or something. You gotta eat an apple with like a rusty nail in it. Remember that was the whole thing, like a form of treatment back in the 1850s. Yeah. Eat this. You need more iron in your diet. They put a nail in an apple and you eat it 2 days later. It's like
It's amazing. It's amazing what they thought was appropriate back then, even in the early 1900s.
Oh, they would bleed people. You hear about this?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they put leeches on you. I mean, they still do that to a degree. But.
My favorite, though, and I'm sure you know about this, Dave. My favorite is when women were hysterical and they would go to a gynecologist who would manually stimulate them and then like give them a prescription for cocaine and tell them to go home. This is like around the turn of the century. They did this. Doctors would manually masturbate their female patients who were quote unquote hysterical.
Yeah.
Probably just period cramps. Right. And then give her a prescription for cocaine and tell her to come back in 2 weeks to get manually stimulated again. I'm like, wait a minute. This guy's dealing drugs and fingering his patients? How do I get that job?
That's how and that's the origin story of the field of gynecology.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, women still are hysterical, I guess.
Yeah, but masturbating them is not how to solve that.
Well, technology solved that problem for us. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Shout out to the vibrator.
It's just fucking.
I don't know, but are women? Is that what caused? It's. I don't know that that's what got women. If a woman's horny, she's not hysterical. I think when she's hysterical, she's over emotional.
Yeah.
Overreacting. Horny's not a problem.
So just like as they are.
Yeah, being a pain in the ass, that's a problem.
They had the red tent for a reason. You hear about that?
What's the red tent?
The red tent, apparently, at some point, I don't know when this happened, but it was a place for women who are on their periods. They would go.
Wow.
To it, and
what era was this?
I don't know. It was probably in the 1800s, early 1900s. I don't know. That's the thing. I only heard about it. Where if you have a community of women, obviously their cycles would line up, and so when it was that time of the month,
you just stick them all in there.
You just fucking go camping in the yard, I guess.
That's fucking.
And they called it the red tent, and they would all sort of like take care of each other. And
now I know what they talk about when they talk about the good old days. The good old days, and this is specifically for straight white men, obviously, because if you were anything but, it wasn't good. But think about it. Back then, man, right? Women couldn't work, so you had half the fucking working population was gone, right? So you had a lot less job competition. So every guy had a job.
Yeah.
Right? You can put your wife in a tent when she's on the rag. She didn't have the right to vote. Like, you know, you had say over everything. You know, there was a time where it was pretty nice to be a guy for a little while. Not in my lifetime, you know.
I think it's still pretty nice to be a guy.
Well, look, they both have their pluses and minuses, right?
Right, of course.
Right. We have self-respect. They get stuff for free.
Yeah.
There's gives and takes.
We make 30% more.
No, we don't.
We pay for everything when we.
Yeah. I fight that one till I'm blue in the face. Like,
of course.
The gender pay gaps. Like, guys, are we looking at like for like jobs? No, then I don't want to hear it. No. You know, it's like you're comparing, you know, because more men are, you know, coal miners than nurses, and they make more because the job's more dangerous. It's like, all right, well, it's a different job.
And even
does a female coal miner make as much as a male coal miner? Yes. Then there's no job. Yeah. There's no pay gap.
I mean, even then, like, so nursing is 10% male.
Well, that's another thing.
And
where's all that? Where's everyone saying, you know, where are these feminists saying, I want equality? There needs to be more male nurses. I don't hear that. They want equality in the jobs that they want, but they also want to. But I don't hear them squawking about gender equality in jobs that they already have complete control over, like teaching, babysitting, nursing, like childcare. These are all fields that women make up 90% of the fucking.
Well, there aren't enough Filipino men. First off. But, they did a study, so 10% of the nursing field is male, but then male nurses make more than female nurses.
Well, because they're better.
Well, of course.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well,
but it's one of those things.
They go into specialty fields, they work longer hours, all of that stuff is explainable.
That's one. I wish I was a male nurse, man. Being a male nurse is kind of like being the guy on the cheerleading squad. You know? Like everyone's, because most guys are going to that, like, oh, they might be gay or not, you're considered to dance or whatever. But some of those guys, I know 2 comedians who were male cheerleaders in college. They used to play football, they couldn't make the team, but they were strong and they were lifters.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, dude, there's fucking 40 chicks.
Yeah.
Over there. I'm gonna go hang out with. I'll be the only straight guy with those 40 girls. Like. Male nurses, same thing. You go to a job, man. There's so many hot female nurses.
I don't know.
You go to a hospital, probably 200 nurses. There's only 4 guys working there who are straight.
You go to a
hospital. You have a pick of the litter of your coworkers.
I don't know. You've been to a hospital lately? I don't know. The nurses aren't exactly.
Well, the nursing profession has some hot. Nursing,
some of them do.
Nursing brings in hot chicks. I know a lot of hot nurses.
Yeah.
A lot of hot teachers.
There are hot nurses. There are hot teachers. Yeah. Those are the ones who.
Never seen a hot female coal miner.
No.
I've
seen. I imagine they look something like female home inspectors.
I imagine they look like Lizzo.
With that, if you're that big, moving that much, something's wrong.
It's impressive.
Yeah, like I said, I think maybe a female coal miner looks something like a female home inspector.
Yeah. You mean just a lesbian?
Yeah. There's a few, and they have to turn around for you to be able to tell.
Yeah.
So
there's another thing I wonder. About, in porn, the lesbians look like they look. But is there porn out there with like regular looking, like the lesbians that most common lesbians look like? Because the ones in porn are like, both of them look like fucking movie stars and they're just, they're lesing out for money. But like, is there like hardcore lesbian porn with like butch lesbians?
I mean, maybe just the homemade stuff.
I'm gonna do some perusing on Pornhub. I'm gonna go to the deep dark corners of fucking Pornhub and find out what's going on.
Do some research. We're counting on you.
I know
for that one because I don't. Yeah, I mean, generally when you search lesbian porn, it's just chicks who aren't exactly lesbians.
Yeah, 2 models who are lesing out for the money.
Yeah, they're scissoring for pay.
Yeah, but I'm surprised more female lesbians aren't into feminine lesbians. Because you would think, because they always seem to be a little bit more masculine. Mm-hmm. Or there's a lot of times, at least in my experience in the lesbian couples that I've known, there's one that's sort of more masculine than the other, or but they're both not like girly,
Yeah.
or at least one of them is not like super girly. But you would think if you like the same sex, you would want that to be like the stereotypical variety of that sex. It's like gay guys who like very effeminate, or like other gay guys who are very effeminate. Mm-hmm. It's like if you're into men, wouldn't you want like a man's man?
No, it's weird because what I've noticed is just they sort of fall into gender roles and sort of they fall into gender roles and then they're masculine, feminine.
There's relationship. It's almost not even gender. It's like relationship roles. Like I'm the one who's a pain in the ass, but can decorate, and you're the one who's easygoing but can fix stuff. Like it's not even gender roles. Like there's job titles in the relationship, and you kind of
there's definitely a masculine and feminine dynamic.
Yeah,
in either one of those relationships that you see. I mean, even on Instagram, if anything, you see it on Instagram. It's like you see these lesbian couples where. You're like, damn, she's kind of hot. And then you find out, you scroll through her feed as you're stalking her. And
as you do.
Yes, you do.
As we all do.
As you're about to jerk off, and then you find out that she's a lesbian, and and then you see, it's weird because I've seen some lesbian couples on social media where they're like, they both look like very feminine.
Yeah.
But one thing I find is that
this is also great. Just two straight guys talking about lesbians.
Yeah.
We have, and look, to be fair, I do have a deep knowledge of the lesbian community. I lived with two lesbians for several years. Two great friends of mine. They were both attractive women, and both girly girls. But even in their relationship, one of them was more domineering, and one of them was less so.
Yeah.
So that always happens. But I feel like it's like there's job tasks in there that they all would take. Even in my relationships, like when I'm in a relationship with a woman, I cook. I like cooking. I'm usually a better cook than them because women these days
they don't cook.
I grew up. I enjoyed food, and I took the time to learn how to do it, and that kind of shit.
Well, as a man, if anything, you always have to cook for yourself.
Yeah, I can fend for myself.
Yeah,
but also it's strategic for me because I don't like, again, going back to doing a certain task. I like the act of cooking. I hate doing dishes. So if I do the cooking. Like, oh yeah, I'll clean up. Good, that's
Got to find a balance somewhere.
Yeah, dude. I do that. I do that on road trips. I'll go on a road trip with Jeff or some buddies do comedy somewhere. Go to Arizona or San Diego, something like that, and we'll be like, oh, I'll drive down. I always volunteer to drive down because then somebody else is driving back when I'm hungover. Because you're excited when you're down there. Right. Everyone's jacked up. Like, oh yeah, you're cruising, listening to tunes, talking shit. The drive back up on Sunday is a fucking nightmare, always. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take the bullet and drive down first. So on Sunday, I'm like, oh man, I drove down. You gotta drive now. That's my move.
I always drive. It doesn't matter. My wife, it's
really.
You drive? Yeah, I drive. My car, her
There's
car.
a good question. Because your wife is an Asian.
No,
Who's a worse driver, Asians or women? Given that you're Asian and she's a woman,
I'm gonna say Asians.
Okay.
And this is based totally on my personal experience as an Asian driver. I didn't understand the stereotype when I grew up in Kansas because I was it.
You're only Asian in Kansas.
I was pretty much the stereotype. So whatever
you were the 1%.
Whatever, yeah, exactly. Whatever I did fucked it up for any Asians that were subsequent to me. So, but when I lived in LA, over in Miracle Mile,
okay,
I would be in Koreatown all the time, and that shit pissed me off every time I drove through Koreatown. I remember one time I was on Wilshire in Koreatown. I remember being on Wilshire and watching this Korean lady drive a Chevy Tahoe. She had her left blinker on, but she was looking to her right as she was merging into me.
Oh, God.
First off, thank you for using your blinker.
Yeah, wrong one, lady. But
yeah. But how about you look to see that there's something to your left? And every day I drove through that town, it was...
What do you think it is about? Because look, all stereotypes, people shit on stereotypes, but they're stereotypes for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, as a species, we have to generalize in order to get enough information to make decisions and move about our day. Of course, not everyone does this, not every group does that, but it's like saying like you can't stereotype. It's like, yeah, I can. Black people tend to have darker skin than white people. That's a stereotype. It's also a fucking fact. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, right? Women are shorter than men. Not all women, I know, but on average, women are shorter than men.
Yeah.
These are like, these are categories you can think about in your mind to sort of help you navigate and make a mental model of the world you live in.
Well, one of the things.
So what is it about Asians and driving? Why?
So one of the things that I find is people who are so vehemently against generalizing and stereotyping are those who don't actually spend a meaningful amount of time around those groups.
Yeah.
Right. So I tell people, listen, you spend any meaningful time around any group, you're going to sort of find that a lot of these stereotypes exist for a reason. So my theory with Asian drivers is that it's an issue of translation. So I think what happens is when Asians are instructed to drive, they're looking at the windshield and not through it. And so,
they're not anticipating what's going on ahead of them.
They can't. They're just, maybe something in their language says, hey, look at the windshield. And so they're literally looking at the windshield instead of looking through the windshield. And so that's why when they drive, it feels as though they're not paying attention to anything around them because they're just looking at the glass in front of them.
Well, Malcolm Gladwell in his book, I forget which one, not Outliers, another one, maybe it was Outliers. He talked about a study with Japanese pilots because in Japan, following orders is like paramount and doing what you're told from your superiors and not thinking for yourself in an emergency. So that's why they had more accidents, because when an emergency situation, they couldn't improvise. They just did what they were told. And when you have an emergency situation, you have to improvise, and that led them to make bad choices in that scenario. So maybe that has something to do with it. But it's also like the idea that like generalizing is bad is annoying, because we all know it's not everybody. Like, you have to make that statement. Not all X do Y. It's like it should go without saying that that's the case. But when you look at it on the reverse side, it's okay to generalize if it's positive. Black guys have big dicks. No, you don't see one fucking white lady at a comedy show come up to you. They never come up to the Afro comedy show and say, you shouldn't say that about black people.
Or I know a black guy. I know a black guy with an average sized dick. I'm like, no, you don't, bitch. You are lying.
No, but it's also like, I'm sure that is the case because the average hangs for most, but they don't give you shit about it.
No, they don't.
It's only when you like step on their little toes.
Well, and also it's generalizing generalizations, really.
But it's also for the sake of comedy. Like, I'm not
right.
It's not like I'm saying you can't get this bank loan because you're a woman. I'm telling dick jokes at a strip mall. You're not like I said. I'm fucking with your citizenship. I'm not fucking with your right to vote. I'm not taking any money out of your pocket other than the fee to come into the show. Like I said, you're not applying for a loan at a bank. I'm not denying you for that. I'm just saying women don't like to be held accountable. They don't. And you're like, oh, you get all upset. Like, look at you now. I'm holding you accountable. Yeah, and look how you're acting. I'm holding you accountable for being crazy, and you're acting crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I have my in-laws do that.
Here's a one for you. Are you good at math?
Yeah.
And what's wrong with that? You know what I'm saying? No one has a problem with that. But if I say, are you a bad driver? Yes. You'd be like that. Oh, no, you can't. What the fuck? Like, you got to take the good with the bad. I'm convinced a lot of these soft core race wars that are going on right now are just people not appreciating the good parts about their culture and shitting on each other over it. Like, okay, I think white people should just admit, like, yeah, all right, we're not cool. I think that's what they're upset about. That's like these America First, corny white people in the South. They want to be cool like black guys and gay people. You can't. Just accept the fact that you're good at government and collecting taxes. Be proud of what you're good at. You don't see Asian guys talking about complaining about how come you're not saying we have big dicks too? They're like, no, we're good at math and we go to school. They own what they're good at and they don't worry about the rest. Instead of being upset you're not something, be happy you are something.
Yeah, and the ones who do complain about that stuff are really annoying.
Yeah, it's fucking.
I don't like.
It's not good. How's it going to help?
It doesn't. And generally, what I find is the Asians who complain the most, who are the woke Asians.
That's a new term because there's not that many woke Asians. Asians. Let me tell you something, white folks. People of color aren't woke. Only fucking you are.
Yeah.
I've never met a single fucking Dominican guy that was woke.
No.
In my life.
No.
You know, they believe in stereotypes. They treat women a certain way. They don't give a fuck about this or that.
Well, they grew up having real problems.
That's
so
part of
wokeness is manufacturing problems. It's
the luxury of being concerned with non-pressing needs.
What is the epitome of a first
That's what being
world
woke
problem?
is. It's the luxury of being concerned with a non-pressing need. It's like, I wish women were as popular in finance as they are in nursing. I'm like, yeah, so do I. But that's not that pressing of a concern.
Yeah.
There's a war going on in Europe right now.
Yeah, one of the things that I find is
we're running out of fucking fresh water, guys. I think we have some things we gotta deal with before we get to the old, let's make it 50-50 in finance for women bullshit.
Well, then you get what happened to Silicon Valley Bank.
Dude, that collapse was one of the saddest collapses of all time.
And the
They
thing
bought
is
they bought U.S. treasuries with all their capital, and they still couldn't stay afloat.
what? The thing. That's the thing.
That's how you know America's credit is shit.
They did the thing that
You're
you were supposed to do.
They bought U.S. bonds, and people were like, "That's too risky. Sell." Sell them all.
Well, and the thing is, they, the other financial institutions hedged that because they knew that the interest rates were going up, and so their problem was that they didn't hedge that, knowing that interest rates were going up.
Oh yeah, it's bad banking.
Yeah, it was just bad banking, like you said.
But the reason they got bailed out, though, Dave, is because of the stink they made on social media.
Yeah,
they financed a lot of the big tech firms,
tech startups. Yeah,
yeah. A lot of those guys had their money with them,
mm-hmm.
and because they have the ear of all the social media accounts, Mark Cuban and those guys, and the Zuckerbergs, like, oh, this is going to be Peter Thiel. This is going to be a catastrophe. Yeah, for you fucking asshole. Your money's in that bank.
Yeah.
But because they have outsized influence, even though they're just technology executives in the Bay Area,
mm-hmm.
they got bailed out, just like the banks did.
Well, the last
no one bailed out fucking Wonder Bread when they went fucking belly up back in 2011.
Well, the last financial crisis in 08-09 was what caused the FDIC to raise the insurance limit.
Oh yeah,
from 100 to 250,000, and now they're talking about just raising it to a limitless number.
But that was also part of the problem too. So since 2008, when Dodd-Frank went into effect, mm-hmm. they had capital constraints on banks of a certain size.
Mm-hmm.
That size was, I think, down to about any bank that had more than like $20 billion in assets. Silicon Valley Bank was butting up against that limit, and they didn't want to have to do Dodd-Frank reporting, so they lobbied the Trump administration, which they did pass legislation that that increased the requirement from like $20 billion to $100 billion. So then Silicon Valley Bank took on a lot more risk, and then that eventually blew up in their face. But it's one of those things like, where I feel like we've talked about this a little bit. People talk about regulation being like a bad thing. It's like, no, bad regulation's a bad thing. Some things you need to regulate.
Well, I think the problem is that...
and banks are one of them. Banks are going to do what you allow them to do. They will loan shark unless you put fucking the screws to them. Mm-hmm. Bankers are scumbags. Well, they're only limited by what the law allows them to do, and they will find every nook and cranny. So you got to write the laws right.
Or they will act in a way that the law gives incentive.
Yes, it's all about incentives.
It's all about incentives. And so, what was I going to say? What was it? I forgot what I was going to say.
You can't be that Asian. You're forgetting stuff.
Dude, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. My memory is. I'm noticing that I'm losing shit. My working memory is like in decline in real time.
Oh, my working memory is for shit, dude.
Oh, God.
I attributed it to the weed, but now that I'm gonna be 40, I can say it's just I'm old.
It's just because you're old.
I'm an old fuck. Especially out here in LA, I'm fucking ancient.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the Silicon Valley Bank is they got a huge infusion of cash with
Did they?
Yeah, with the stimulus bills and
the
government spending. So they got a shit ton of cash, billions in cash. And so they had all this cash on hand. And so they're like, well, I don't know what to do with this. And that's when they bought those treasuries and the mortgage-backed securities. And so they did all that, and they didn't hedge the risk, knowing that interest rates were going up. We all knew interest rates were going to continue to go up, but they didn't do anything about that.
I mean, that's one of the things. Like, how do you how do we get out of this boom and bust economy that we have? There's just no way, is there?
Well, it's just,
is that just capitalism? That's just how it is?
It was, from what I understand, which is not, it's too much, but.
Yeah, I'm asking you. I'm the guy who spent fucking 11 years in finance. But like,
you're the one with a degree in finance. I'm Asian. Maybe together.
I was in the thick of it, dude. And I can, I won't tell these stories on air because I don't want to impugn other people.
Yeah.
But there are deals that I did when I was working on Wall Street that we knew were losers. But we were able to unload the debt to somebody else, so we made our fees and didn't have any exposure, and we sold the deal anyway.
Well, I
had one guy at a credit committee. I won't say his name. He's like, usually you loan this company 3 times their profitability. He goes, we want to loan them 6 times. It's like, that's twice that we would ever do for this company. And one of the partners on the deal with me said to him, who's like a senior partner, it's like, don't worry. We already sold 90% of the loan to Iceland and Ireland. He goes, get the other 10% off the books. He signed the contract and walked out of the room. And that company, I shit you not, 3 months later, filed for bankruptcy. 40,000 people unemployed.
Well, that's something.
We made a cool $28 million in fees, though. So
I mean, that's pretty much what happened in the mortgage meltdown of 2008. Because what happened was these banks were under the duress of the Community Reinvestment Act and the government. They were forced to write a certain number of subprime loans.
Yeah, that was a lot of that going on. Like, that's the thing about these community redevelopment boards that I didn't fully appreciate, and actually until I started reading more and more books on the mafia, oddly enough, because somehow they got involved with these community redevelopment boards because they would get favorable loans to do redevelopment projects at lower interest rates. They required them to put out a certain amount of money on the street, no matter where it went. Just like the COVID pandemic money. What did we get? What did they give out? $600 billion, $250 billion of which is completely unaccounted for. I mean, anytime you force spending, people are going to rob you. I mean, of course, you can't transfer money except in a leaky bucket. Yeah. But in this case, in COVID, in the mortgage crisis, the bucket was just a fucking sieve. It was a colander. It was just a hole. It was nothing but a hole in the bottom of it.
Yeah. So what happened? So like they're writing all these loans, and the government was insuring all these loans, and so these financial institutions they didn't have a way to accurately measure the risk of these types of loans, and so all the government agencies were like, oh, this looks good to us. And so these financial institutions sold off these mortgage-backed securities to other financial institutions. Yeah. So what happened was you get these banks that wrote the initial loans, and so
they have no responsibility.
Well, they have no responsibility because, in theory, a bank that issues a loan has every incentive to collect on that loan. But the thing is, if that bank sells that risk off to someone else, they don't care.
Yeah. And the listeners, this because I'm sure, because I had a mortgage. You'll get these in the mail sometimes. All of a sudden, your mortgage company changes, and you have to write checks to a new one. Like, all right, you just keep writing checks to them. Yeah. But that's what happens. They sell your loan in the secondary market after the bank has issued it. Yeah. So the bank that issued your loan is not the one you're paying back. It's another bank.
Yeah, and so and then the whole meltdown happened, and it was when people stopped paying their mortgages. Yeah. So if people kept paying their mortgages, none of this would have happened. So when they stopped paying their mortgages, that's when shit started to fall apart. And then because a lot of that stuff was insured by the government, that's when it sort of socialized everything. And so a buddy of mine worked for. He went into mortgage lending. Yeah. In 2006, 2007, 2008.
When everyone else was in it. Yeah.
Yeah. And, he was telling me, he'd tell me these stories where he would take a loan application for somebody. And these were like stated income loans because they had to get a certain percentage of loans, subprime loans. Yeah. And so the only way to do that.
Because of the redevelopment. Yeah. They give you tax incentives to loan out money.
Yeah. So the housing, the Department of HUD would sort of pressure financial institutions to do
and they'd also give you tax breaks. Like, hey, if you give out X amount of loans to underprivileged people, we'll cut you a break of X% on taxes.
And if you in some of these financial institutions, if they wanted to merge, the government was like, okay, well,
you have to take on these loans.
Yeah, exactly. So, he would tell me that the only way to meet these demands was to do stated income loans. And he told me this story.
Stated income.
Stated income.
As in self-reported.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
like
no
a car loan.
W-2 required.
Like a car loan.
Yeah.
So it's like car loans are mostly.
Yeah, because they don't give a fuck. Because they make money if they repossess
exactly.
your car.
So,
oh wait, he paid for a year and we get the car.
Yeah, because
they want you to default on that.
Exactly.
Loan.
So there's it's much easier to discern the value of a vehicle than it would be a car, because banks aren't in the business of real estate. So he told me the story where he took a loan application from somebody, a couple who worked at Taco Bell. And,
because they're well known for taking care of their employees.
Yeah. I was looking at their benefits package and I'm like, man, should I work for Taco Bell? I was like, shit.
Well, I have no benefits being a comedian, so yeah,
right,
I should probably work for Taco Bell.
So
I don't get a discount.
You just, yeah. And so he told me that he sat this couple down and they wrote on their loan documents, worked at Taco Bell, that they made $300,000 a year. Yeah. $300,000 a year.
Yeah,
and he wasn't allowed to press them or question them
that's what I was
about
gonna
the
ask you.
veracity of the claim.
Is there any penalty for lying to a bank on a loan document? Because it's a bank.
It's financial fraud.
But it's not a government. You're not testifying at a court.
It's still,
it's not a criminal act. It's a civil penalty.
Yeah,
they can take your house.
It's still fraud. It's still fraud. So you can. I think one of the charges that they got the Trump organization on was sort of misstating the value of some assets.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, you can misstate it. You have to. I mean,
but that was to the IRS, not to the bank.
Well, even still, I think you can. It's still a form. It's still financial fraud.
Yeah, I guess it's wire fraud or something like that.
Yeah,
interstate bank fraud or some bullshit.
They'll find a way.
Yeah,
but yeah, he put down. They stated we make $300,000 a year.
But what do the banks care? They're going to sell the loan the next day.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So loan officers just became paper pushers. Because
the faster they got a loan in and out of their door, the more money they made.
Yeah. So he heard that number like this. And then he said, "Okay."
Yeah, all right. Yeah, sell it immediately.
He just passed it along. And so, I think, we've had bad monetary policy.
Oh, for years.
For decades. I mean, zero interest.
Since Alan Greenspan, dude. That guy was like a legend when I started. And by the time I got out of fucking finance, he was the biggest fucking failure known to man. Like, he was thought of, Alan Greenspan, from the time I was in high school, because I went to a high school that specialized in finance in New York, like a little charter school.
Yeah, you would.
He was like, Alan Greenspan, he like figured out, how to beat inflation permanently. He was like a genius. He was like, walked on water. And then, fucking 10 years later, when the financial crisis hit, they're like, Alan Greenspan, that fucking cheap money whore. Like,
I was gonna say, what did he beat inflation? Because I wasn't paying attention.
He killed inflation.
I was gonna say, did he beat inflation with zero interest?
Yeah, no, he was the guy who started the who started the problem.
Okay.
Alan Greenspan was the guy who started. He was like, oh my god, it's cheap money. He was the guy who like started the whole. He like got the ball rolling down this hill. Him and Bob Rubin, the Treasury Secretary. Yeah, they were like on the Mount Rushmore of the finance world. It was like those two guys and like J.P. Morgan and what's that guy from the guy from Citigroup, Sandy Weil, were like the four horsemen, and they all those guys have since been partially blamed for where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, I see that. A
little finance history for the listeners there. Not my typical dick jokes on this one. I like it.
Well, we have two people here who went to college.
Dude, most of my fucking guests go to college, which is funny.
We have like
we've used it.
We have real day jobs.
We've actually been professionals. Most of my other guests went to college and didn't do shit but drugs.
Yes. It was their paid vacation. I see that in my industry. Even now, I mean, if I compare like 2020 to even now, it's unreal. Like, my business has probably dropped. If I just went the sheer number of inspections, I think it's gone down about 40-50%.
Okay, and you do home inspections.
I do home inspections. So my business has dropped probably 40-50%.
Yeah, but about 2 years ago, you couldn't stop making money.
2 years ago, I did 300 inspections in a year, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And so Yeah, my inspections went down, probably down 40%, but then, my income is probably only down about 30%. But still, it's tangible.
Yeah.
And so, you got these people who bought their house at 3-4% a few years ago, and they want to sell. They're not going to sell and get a 7% loan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, unless they leave the state. And so,
but even then, dude, no state. It's the only reason they're getting a deal is because the price of the house is lower, not because the interest rates.
Yeah, well, that's
yeah.
the thing. And so, with California, I mean, shit. I mean, I've inspected, no bullshit. I've inspected $1 million teardowns. $1 million teardowns.
Here's a question for you on home inspections. Have you ever done a home inspection and a gal made a move on you with a homeowner?
No.
A little angry divorcee.
Right. I have no.
I'm going to get back at my husband. I'm going to fuck this Asian home inspector.
I'm not. I don't think I can't imagine. I can't imagine too many instances where a woman is just, I'm going to fuck this Asian.
Unless we're talking about Yao Ming.
Right. Unless we're talking about, well, they know his success, right?
Yeah, I think the most famous Asian ever.
This guy's showing up to work in cargo shorts and a collared T-shirt. I got to feel him out for a second.
Do you ever find anything funny in a home inspection? You ever find like someone's sex toys, a weird sex swing dungeon?
No.
Some Dorian Gray shit?
I've not. No, most of the houses are unoccupied. Okay. And if I do, if anything, I've come across hoarding.
Oh yeah, that's creepy.
Hoarding. Hoarding is
that'll really sink the value of your house.
Just
if you have a bunch of dead cats under a sofa.
Oh God, I walk into houses oftentimes, and I just think to myself, people live like this. I don't get it. Like it smells because they can't smell it. Like
I know.
If I walk into a house,
it's a compulsion. That's how you know it's like oh, it's normal to them, but you're like, what the fuck? This is how you live? Like, that's how you know it's compulsive to them. It's a weird brain problem that they have.
Yeah, I inspected, I remember specifically, there was this woman, it was in Hancock Park, and this was maybe last year, she bought the house in 99. And so we're talking 22 years.
So she made bread.
Well, yes, but she inherited a tenant. So she lives in this nice big house in Hancock Park. She had a tenant renting a room in one part of the house, and then she had an apartment above the garage, and that's where the inherited tenant was living. Had been living there since '68.
Wait, you can't get out of that eventually?
No.
What about lease renewals? Like, I'm not going to renew your lease.
Well, because it's in the city of Los Angeles, it's rent controlled, and so it has been for a very long time.
I get rent control, but you're like, I'm not renting. This is my private. I'm going to live in there now. This is my private home. Get the fuck out.
I don't know the specifics of the laws, but and she was one of these women who were probably
just let it. I don't want to, whatever. Just leave him up there.
And so that type of disposition though sort of led her to call me in because she didn't really want to inspect her house, which I did because she paid for it.
You know who she should have called in?
Who?
Fucking Connected guys. They bring a little of that Jewish lightning, burn that thing to the ground, get the guy out of there. That's how you did it in New York in 1988.
I didn't know Jews did arson.
No, that's what they called it, Jewish lightning.
Lightning.
When they would burn your place down for the insurance money. It's called Jewish lightning. At least in my neighborhood, growing up.
I'm gonna look this up when I get
what
home.
happened? Now Jewish lightning. They hit hit the bodega on the corner. Well, it's gone now.
So this dude was living in this apartment, and this woman has been suspicious for a while because she started to see things in the garage.
Like the tenant jerking off?
Well, no, just moisture damage.
Coming
in the
down
garage,
from the ceiling.
And things like that. Roaches, stuff like that. And so she called me in and I inspected her house, but then she really got me there to inspect the apartment above her garage.
Yeah, what's going on?
Specifically. So I go into the garage, I'm looking around and I'm seeing a lot of moisture damage. And looking from the outside, you can kind of see that the framing is crooked.
Oh, it's starting to sag.
It's starting to sag.
Shift
at
the
walls.
ground.
Yeah. So I go up into this apartment and it was the worst case of hoarding, and just
was it the weight of the upstairs was shifting the whole building?
Well, so what happened was this guy obviously he hoarded, And so we had to make a path up the stairs. Yeah. So there was a path about this wide walking up the stairs. And the stench was so strong that I had to put on my
it's
respirator.
ammonia, dude.
I had to put on my respirator.
Fucking rat feces everywhere.
And the homeowner followed me up. And as soon as that stench hit her, she started crying.
Yeah,
because the thing is, she was so passive about the whole thing that she didn't want to bother the guy. So she left it alone for years.
I mean, this is part of the problem. Not to interrupt your story, Dave, but this is part of the problem with the world. I didn't want to, interrupt him. It's like, dude, he needs help.
Yeah.
Help that guy.
Yeah.
It's like the homeless on the street. Oh, we don't want to bother them. Bother them.
Bother them.
You think they want to live on the fucking street? Get them off the street. Like, do something.
Well, yeah.
Doing nothing is also an action.
Well, it's
just so you know.
It's an extreme form of leftist libertarianism, is what that is. But I mean, it's sort of the same.
That's part of the problem.
That's what it is. I mean, and so this woman sort of had that approach with him. So I went up, and he had enough room. Like his bed was clear, but everything around his bed was full. Yeah. I could only walk through the apartment.
There's a path.
On a path.
Yeah, there's a path from the toilet to his bed and to the door. That's it.
I went into the bathroom and I couldn't get in, and there was black mold everywhere. Ugh. And there was this stench, and I look under the sink, and there had been a leak that had been happening for probably months.
Dripping out.
Same thing with the kitchen, black mold everywhere, and so he let that go. And so what that was doing, it was rotting the subfloor framing, which was the garage roof framing.
It's just tipping the whole fucking thing over.
And yeah, and it was so screwed up, and so she needed that report
to get the right to go to court and get him removed.
She needed that report to take action. She needed something that was of official nature to take action. And so the thing is, with the laws, she had to pay to relocate him.
That's crazy.
So she had to pay.
I believe in tenants' rights, but to pay to get a problem out of your house.
Yeah, she had to pay.
That's how a lease works, dude. Like even my work contracts, like I signed like a 2-year deal at work, like if I do a job. Mm-hmm. They get to renew it. Your lease, you sign a lease once and you're a permanent fucking resident for the rest of your life. How is that?
California?
No, but but in places like Alabama, you can evict someone on 2 days' notice. It's like, all right, that's also wrong. There has to be some, I think a year. Like I said, you sign a lease. At the end of the year, if neither party wants to sign a lease, then you have to go.
I think 30 days is reasonable. I mean, Texas gives you 30 days. So
30 days is not reasonable.
I think 30 days.
Vacate a premises?
Well, if the lease,
you know how hard it is to find?
If the end of your lease is coming up, so
If the end of your lease,
yeah.
But I'm talking about serving eviction.
Serving eviction. Well, hey, and you know what? So
no, but that takes time too. The process of eviction takes 90 days. So it's coming. It's coming.
So the place that I lived, the place that I lived in Miracle Mile, the tenant stopped paying rent, and it took them about 6 months to get them out of there, and they left the place in shambles.
Yeah, that's a little much.
And so there's that. But what this lady had to do was she had to pay to get him out, which means she had to pay to move his stuff to a new location. She had to pay
to the tent underneath the Cahuenga and 101 underpass right over here. We can go visit that guy right now. Well, he's homeless. We can light his campsite on fire.
All the tents right over here.
She could just put him on Wilshire Boulevard. And so, she had to do that. And looking at it, she probably had to tear down her entire garage structure and rebuild it.
Oh, yeah, but she's probably happy to get the guy the fuck out of there. I mean, why would you just burn the goddamn thing?
Yeah.
I mean, cleaning it's going to cost more than rebuilding it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you would have to pull up the flooring and then replace any rotted subfloor.
I'm saying spending time emptying all that guy's shit. Yeah. Like I said, if you just light it on fire, burn it to the ground and build a new structure.
It would be cheaper to light it on fire and then pay him money to replace those things.
Yeah, exactly. The fucking trash collection.
It would also sanitize it.
Yeah. Before we get into the news, I want to ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Because we talked a lot about, we talked some finance, we talked a little bit about, being stereotypes and being Asian. Mm-hmm. But so the listeners haven't gotten it by now. Dave's a conservative man, or more conservative than LA. What's it like living in the lion's den as an Asian conservative guy?
You know, honestly, it's
because I feel like when in LA, you know, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but in LA they judge everything by the fucking cover.
yes.
You come walking in, oh, we have an ally here, you know, our Asian friend,
Yeah.
Dave.
Hey, did you
and
like?
then Dave opens his mouth and like, what are you saying? They're so disappointed that you're not, you know, one of these bleeding heart liberals.
Yeah,
How
like-
have you dealt with it living out here? Because you come from Kansas City, right?
Yeah, well, Northeast Kansas.
Yeah.
I didn't live in
Not
a big
even
town.
fucking- yeah.
I lived in a town of about, well, right now I think the population is like 760.
Yeah, and that's because you're here. It'd be
And that's 'cause I'm
761 if it was
61.
other. Yeah.
Exactly. So no, I grew up for the most part in Northeast Kansas, and so what's funny is when I moved to California, I thought I was liberal, and then I started.
And then you moved here.
And then I moved here, and then I started listening to what these people were saying. I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
It's crazy. It's
I guess
crazy.
I'm not. And so, you know, what's funny is I don't know. It doesn't really impact me very much because
Because you're Asian, and they don't
I'm
want to say
Asian.
anything to an Asian guy.
I don't like people, so I don't hang around people unless I get to know them and I like them.
But has anybody like been like? I'm sure you've had it happen when like, you know, talking to you. It's happened to me like in the reverse, where like after a show, guys like, you know how those people are. I'm like, no, I don't know how. Those people, you know,
What are we talking
they like, insinuate something weird and like bigoted towards you. Like, oh, you know how you know. I'm like, no, I don't know, man. I'm not with your group on this one. Have the liberals come up to you in LA like, yeah, you know, stop Asian hate. You know. It is.
So,
and you're like, no, what are you talking about?
No, stop Asian hate. Why? Why? Like, have you seen them? They're still wearing masks outside.
They started that trend.
They-
Shout out to
Yes.
Japan for starting the fucking mask trend way back in 1996.
Oh man, I mean, I saw it when I first moved here. I saw it in Koreatown.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were wearing them outside.
But you know why I heard why they do it.
Why it was because the air? What it was?
No. Well, one, I know why the Chinese do it.
they got
Because
bad teeth?
the air quality is terrible in China.
Yeah.
But I heard that at least I was asking my friend who's married to a Japanese woman specifically.
Mm-hmm.
He said in Japan, he's like, I can't speak for China because China has the pollution problem. He's like, but in Japan, wearing a mask has always been a thing if you are sick, because your employer wants you to show up to work. You want to show up to work as part of your honor as a Japanese citizen.
Well, that makes sense.
But you don't want to get anyone else sick. So they wear their masks over there to prevent other people from getting sick. So they can still show up to work. So they can like be at their desk, but with a mask. Like it's like a hard working mentality over there. Whereas here, it's a whole COVID.
And that's why I drive Japanese cars, because I want the people who make my car, if they screw up, that they'll kill themselves. Because I know that they're going to do a good job.
Yeah, you want the stakes high on the manufacturer.
I want the stakes high.
That's why the safety standards on Japanese cars are so high, because workers will kill themselves
Every time
if passengers die.
Every time my check engine light comes up, I'm pretty sure a dude's jumping out of a window. No, but you know what's funny? Like it doesn't really impact me very much. Mostly because I just it's just not a topic that's broached for the most part. Because I just don't think that people in general are so outwardly political. I did have a situation arise. I went to go see a friend at a comedy show, and one of these comedians came up to me, and he started just like going off on things. And once he found out I was from Kansas, and so he just started firing off on like, oh, racism and white supremacy, and oh yeah, I lived in the South, and like I would never do that, and Ron DeSantis is trying to murder me.
Murder me.
No, it's just it was just a lot. And so I just sat there like, oh yeah.
But that's also
I just nodded my head, just sort of like,
but
and I kept asking questions because I was.
That's a
curious.
form of stereotyping, Dave. That's a form of stereotyping. That he's like, once he found out you were from Kansas, he's like, oh, you know how like he starts hitting you with the conservative tropes and what they want to do to you. It's like, well, just because I'm from Kansas doesn't mean I believe those things. like I'm from Kansas. I believe in abortion. Like it's not not everyone in Kansas is, again. You don't have to preface it with saying this, but they hit you with a stereotype.
Well, which is fine. And the thing is, I understand why that stereotype exists, because when I left Kansas, like I was like my worldview was completely different, and I understand it because I still have a friend who. He lives in Champaign, Illinois, and he has only lived in the Midwest. So he's only lived in the Midwest where, he is one of very few minorities.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Yeah, of course.
And so he sort of still has the same worldview and outlook that I had when I left Kansas and moved to California.
Okay.
And so I get it. Okay. I mean, I get it. So like, you know, if I go visit Kansas, I'm not fucking going on a road trip on the back highways driving through fucking,
dude,
Council Grove, Kansas.
I've said that about my international travel because I've been to places. I've been to Lebanon for vacation. I've been to Colombia twice for vacation. I've been all over South America, and people are like, oh, isn't that dangerous? Those are countries that are not on. They're on the red list for the State Department. You're not supposed to go there as an American. And I'm like, well, when I showed up to Beirut, I didn't go looking for jihad. I was like, yeah, where are the hot chicks at? Like, I was going to the party. Like, when you go to Chicago, you don't go to the fucking South Side looking for a gun battle. You're like, yo, man, where's the party at? I'm looking for a good time.
Was dodging bullets.
No one goes to East New York, Brooklyn when they go to visit New York. They go to fucking, they go down to Meatpacking, go to a gay bar, have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it depends on where you go. Like not everywhere not everywhere in Kansas is fucking racist. You're like, it's not a thing.
Not everywhere, just most of it. But
well, dude, most of Lebanon was was a bad place to be, but I was fine.
It was like my sister-in-law.
There was a Nike Town in the lobby of the hotel I was staying at. I was like, I'm pretty safe here. There's a Nike Town here.
It would have to be in the lobby. You're not going out to the promenade over there in Beirut.
No, well, the whole area was like so. I was like, I stayed near the U.S. So where their parliament is and the U.S. embassy are like very close to like the government area. I stayed at a hotel near there. They all had American, AR-15 style rifles. I'm like, all right, they got our weapons. I'm safe here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't worried. They didn't have AK-47s and towels around their head. They were fucking. They were just rocking fucking regular army fatigues and a U.S. rifle. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
And like I said, there was a Patagonia store. I had fucking oysters on the Mediterranean there. I was like, this is nice. I can deal with this. The girl I was going to visit, she's like, don't go down south though. Like, don't go down south, and definitely don't go north to the Syrian border. Don't do that.
My sister-in-law recently visited South Africa, and she was asked if it was safe, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's very safe. All these places I went, it's just like it's just like United States. Just some bad places you go." I was like, "Really? Yeah. Is that how that is? Just some bad places?" You're gonna make that generalization based on your experience.
It's not the same, but there is an equivalency, like where there's good and bad neighborhoods everywhere in the world.
No, I get it. It's just I thought it was funny where this particular individual would be quick to strike down generalizations.
Oh,
she made a generalization of the entire country based on her
one experience,
her very upper middle class white experience. You know what I'm saying?
That's my biggest beef with the the far left or the far right. They base it on their little sliver of experience. It's like, all right, know that that's not typical. just know that that's not normal.
Well, anecdotes are proof of anecdotes.
Exactly.
So,
all right, let's get into the news before we got to get out of here. First one up, a Florida principal was ousted after parents complained that sixth graders viewed Michelangelo's David, which they considered pornographic. The former principal at a Florida Tallahassee classical school says that she was recently ousted after parents complained the students viewed Michelangelo's David, which the parents considered pornographic. They started a petition and got her fired. Now, we've all seen Michelangelo's David. He's got a little piña on him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that pornographic?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, it's art. And it's been there for centuries.
Yeah, and he's not penetrating
anything.
He's
not penetrating.
Yeah.
He's just standing
and
there.
And also, his dick isn't big enough to be pornographic.
Right. It's not a hard dick.
No, not even hard dick. It's a little dick. Like his dick, in porn, it would be a fucking whale. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing pornographic about his dick.
No, it's not an erect penis.
In porn, it'd be embarrassingly large.
Right.
His is embarrassingly small.
He's just a naked dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think, aren't there a lot of statues with women in bare breasts and paintings? Is that also pornographic?
I hope not, because I jerk off to those statues.
Like the Venus
in the goddamn museum.
Well, like what is that? The Venus de Milo. She has no arms. You know, if you were into like, you know, disabled porn, like would you just jerk off to that?
That's a weird. Yeah. Is there a disabled porn kink? There must
probably.
be.
There has to be. This is America.
Yeah.
This is America.
There's nothing more American. This is America. There's got to be disabled pornography.
Like penetrate me with your stub. Shit.
Instead of fist me, nub me. Nub me. Hit me with that stump.
No, yes. That makes,
dude, that actually might be a benefit. Think about that. Like if you have an average hog, but you have a stump for a forearm, you'd be like, hey, I got one for the front, one for the back. You know, depending on how weird you are, lady, we can switch it up. You know?
Oh my God. I can't do forearm exercises. It's not that big. I read that story and I was like, that sounds like some Florida shit.
But they get fired over it. It's like,
I don't.
Fucking hell.
Ugh.
You know. All right. Next one up. Scientists created mice out of two dads for the first time ever. It's happening, Dave. Scientists have created mice with two biologically male parents for the first time, a significant milestone in reproductive biology. The team, led by a Japanese professor of genome biology in Osaka University, generated eggs from the skin cells of a male mouse that were implanted in a female mouse that went on to produce healthy pups, according to research published in peer-to-peer review studies. So they took two male mice, somehow created a zygote, and put that in a female mouse. So now it is possible, apparently, at least in mice, for two men to have one child.
So wait, so the genetic material.
Yeah, so they basically turned skin cells from two different male mice into the genetic material that went into the fertilized egg that got implanted into a female mouse. So female mice. So there is going to be male on male children coming soon.
Huh.
You know what? I'm happy about that.
Well, at least there'll be a father in the house. You know, these fatherless homes are shooting up the schools.
It was two white lab rats. Because obviously, if
course.
it was
right,
the other way around. But no, but I've said this I've said this before, not on this podcast, but in real life. Everyone's the whole gender thing. Make no mistake, there are two sexes: the male sex and the female sex. That's genetic. I can't. I'm not going to equivocate that at all. I don't care if YouTube cancels me for it. Genetically, there's X, Y, and XX. Gender, like if you want to identify as a man or a woman, that's a whole different discussion. But scientifically, there are two sexes.
Yeah.
But I've always said there's going to come a time where the science and the medical science gets so good that they can actually genetically change your chromosomes from male chromosomes from XY to XX to female chromosomes and vice versa. And that's when trans people can be truly trans at a genetic level. And this is the first step down that path. And what I fear for in this situation are gay men. Because now they're going to have their own fucking kids, man. And I thought the cool part about being gay was not having kids. You know, like I thought the cool part of a male-on-male relationship was you didn't have kids.
It's the slippery slope. See, what happened was we let them get married.
And now they want a family. And they're going to ruin their gay lifestyle over it.
Exactly. They've already ruined their gay lifestyle. They're staying in, drinking chamomile tea, wearing scarves and shit. And now science is making them have kids.
And they're going to ruin, and they're not going to be in shape anymore. They're going to lose all their money because they're going to have kids. It's going to ruin everything.
Exactly. There's nothing better than two income, no kids. Especially when two of those incomes are male incomes.
Yeah.
No one talks about that pay gap between gay men and lesbians.
Or gay men and straight couples.
Well, hey, listen, man. They're gay men, gay married couples are the only people who are gentrifying white neighborhoods.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I've said it 1,000 times. I live a gay lifestyle. I just wish I was sexually attracted to men. My life, the gay lifestyle is the shit.
Well, you say that because
except
you probably
for the butt sex.
Well,
that I don't like. That I'm not into. Yeah.
Well, you are, but just as the top.
Yeah.
You know, and Randy, I take you
I have
as
to find an effeminate enough, an effeminate enough bottom.
right.
Is what I need.
I take you as a top type. So
Yeah, well,
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Guilty as charged, my friend.
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
this
dude.
is fun.
I can't compete, man. Like, you know, I'm over here married to some chick who's making 25% less than me. Then you got these two dudes over here like,
making $1.30 on the dollar.
yeah, I'm getting outbid on these houses. You know,
They have so much better taste in interior decorating than I do. It's crazy. This was fun, dude. This is coming out the third week in May.
Okay.
So 3 weeks from now.
I will.
What do you got coming up in June? You know, what's your June show?
I have nothing coming up in June.
Are you guys not doing a show in June?
We're doing a show in June. We haven't pinned down the date. Our next show.
Follow him at David Hahn 2.0 because he's gotten thrown off a few times.
I got permanently suspended. Apparently, you can only type the word retard so many times on Instagram before they tell you you're no longer welcome.
Yeah. Well, our buddy Fanto got canceled because he called someone a cunt in a DM.
Did he really?
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
Have you noticed that? Like, I'm getting these little banner messages.
Oh, I get them all the time.
Well, like when you go to DM somebody, you're getting these banner messages saying, "Be respectful, be kind and respectful," and it's to my friend, and so I'm like, "Hey, what's up, you fucking prick?"
You call him the N word?
Yes.
Nice guy.
Nice neighbor.
Neighbor. You call him the C word?
The C word.
You know,
Oh, my
ends with a
God.
K though, not a T. You're friends. You're Asian.
Well, the chunk, right? It's a
Chunk.
It's a fat Chinese guy.
All right, follow him at David Hahn 2.0. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys stopping by for this one. Rate, review, subscribe, all that bullshit. Where will I be in June? I will be all over Florida. Boca Raton, Naples, Port Charlotte. Go see my dates at jeffdye.com, as I always say. All right, guys. Thanks. Peace.